Well, hi everyone. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today we're going to build another solar light. This one here is going to be different than all the rest of them we've built. We're going to use three of our small solar panels. This is the one here. This is the tops off the garden stakes that you buy to go in your garden or along pathways. They have a solar panel on the top here which charges during the day, and then at nighttime they have a little photo cell that says it's dark and they come on automatically. So on the underside here it has a small single point light, has a little tab here you pull out to activate the battery. So this is the same one we've used in a lot of the other solar lights we've done. So this one's going to differ in the fact that we're going to use three of these, and then in the panels themselves we're going to do a couple things. We're going to use this wispy glass right here on the edges of the project. You notice here again we've got the grain marked on here. And if you followed in my other videos, you know that I'm really big into let's keep the grain going all the same way, especially when you're using wispy glass, because if your grain's going this way, you don't want to take that glass and turn it sideways in your project because it'll really show up. So the ones that go across the top will cut out of this area here so that they're all going down, and then the long ones will go down here. And then around the inside edge, we're going to use this really pretty glass. This has got some confetti strips on it here. It's been fired to create this effect. It's a product that you can buy at the glass house, so it's not anything real exotic, but it makes a real nice looking effect. And then in the middle of this one, we're going to do something really different. We're going to take and we're going to put a glass crystal in it. And the glass crystals look like this. This crystal here is about a little over about 3.5 inches by 2.25. And what we're going to do with that is we're going to suspend that from the top of our solar light. We're going to suspend that, and it'll be hanging right in the middle, in between the three solar lights that are pointing down. So this ought to light up very pretty. So we're going to get started here, and we'll get set up, and we'll be back, and we'll get ready to draw out our initial plan. All right, we're back. We got some familiar looking tools here that you probably have seen on some of my other videos. So we'll get set up. We've got our ruler. We've got our 60-30 degree triangle. We've got our little T-square, and we've got our drawing board with a piece of 8.5 by 11 paper put down. So let me get my stool to sit on here, and we'll get ready to draw this up real quick. If you've watched any of my other videos, you've seen how we do this, but just in case somebody tunes into this video and hasn't seen any of the other ones, they'll know where we're at and what we're doing. So we're going to take our little T-square here, and we're going to draw a line here. 8.5 by 11 is going to be, half of that's going to be 5.5, so we'll just make a little mark right here. And we'll go right here. Now we're going to take three of these lights, so they're going to sit in here like this. So this is going to be three-sided, just like this. And when we put our little hanger in for our to hang our crystal, we'll go right in the center of this, and we'll put our hanger down on that. So anyway, I don't need all three of these to make this. I'm just going to hold one of them down here, and I'm going to draw the circles around it here. And all I'm trying to do is figure out how big to make this. And so we'll just take them a draw around here. I'm leaving a little bit of leeway between our line and all the lines, so that gives us a little bit of wiggle room, so when we put this together, we won't be surprised and have it come out too small and none of these will fit in there, so that will mess us up. So after we've drawn our solar lights in here, we're going to take our 30-60 degree triangle, and we're going to do it on the 60 degree area, and we're going to set it in here. And this one happens to have like an 1/8 of an inch step right here. So we're going to bring it right up to our last one and go out 1/8 of an inch. And we're going to make our up line right here. And then we're just going to turn this over, and we're going to do the same thing here. We're going to go right up to the edge of our line, and then we're going to go out our 1/8 of an inch. And we're going to come right down here. Okay, what this does is this tells us how big our panels are going to be. And they're going to be 6 6 7/8 inches each. So that'll be from here to here. So that'll work out real good. So to show you real quick, this is what this is going to look like. So we're going to have our down pieces. We're going to have our bottom. We'll have our header glass across here. And I'm going to split it right here. This will be where our solar light goes. And then around here, I'm going to put a 1-inch beveled square here. And then in here, like this, we're going to run our light green wispy glass. And then in here, we're going to come across here with a piece of the green and white and pink one. Across here, they'll probably be about 3/4 of an inch. Come down here and come down here. And unlike all the rest of them, this is gonna be open. Normally we would close this in with some. We're gonna leave this one open, and our crystal will be hanging in here like this. Hopefully the crystal comes out better than that, but that's kind of how it's going to look. So that'll give you an idea of what we're going to do here. So we'll go offline. We'll build us a form to build these. So we want to make these all exactly the same size. So our form is going to be 6 7/8 wide. And from there, we'll go ahead and figure out how long we want to build it. We can build it as long as we want. I'll probably build it so that this length here will create us a window in here that will be give us a nice even area around our crystal, our glass crystal. So we'll just figure that out as we get ready to go. So we'll be back. We'll get set up and we'll put our form in here. Then we'll cut some lead and we'll get ready to continue on with the project. All right, we're back. We got everything pulled out here so we can get ready to make our form to build this. I'm using a carpenter square here to make sure everything is squared up. It just goes right against the backstop on my table here. We're going to use a piece of our form wood. This is the one we've talked about if you're watching my other videos. It's made out of 3/4 inch pine. Just set the gate up on my table saw at 1/4 inch and I just ripped these through it. So these have been used over and over and over. They last forever. So anyway, this has been it's been trimmed. It has a notch in it right here. That'll be where our hanger's going to go. So the first thing we're going to do, we're just going to set this in here. And here again, we're going to just use these little inch wire brads. And we're going to go ahead and we're going to set this in here. We're going to set this in here and just going to tack it to our board. If you're watching my other videos, you've seen us make the forms before. If you want to skip on by this one, you can. But if this is the first time you've been watching, stay tuned and kind of keep an eye on what we're doing here, because this is important, because we want all 3 of these panels to be exactly the same. If they're not, your project's going to come out with a real strange look to it. So now we're going to put one of our down pieces here, and we're just going to bring this over here, and we're going to slide our square by here. I've got this down nice and tight. You want it nice and tight because you want to be sure that it's up against there. So this is going to run up here. This will be square up here because we're going to make these straight. So we'll go ahead and we'll tack this one down. So hopefully you guys have tried some of these projects and are you don't want to do that right there though. See how it pulled away from my square? That won't be good, because then when we get ready to start this, we will be not straight, and our project will start to bend out. So we'll fix that real quick here. When something like that goes wrong, don't just go ahead and say, well, that's going to be all right. It'll be close enough. Don't do that. Go ahead and fix it, because if you don't, you're going to have a situation where they don't work. So I'll hold that over real tight this time. All right. Now we're going to take our square out here. We're going to turn it around. And we're going to take it, we're going to push it in here, and it'll push down tight. Okay, put our other down piece here. We're going to take and we're going to slide it over here. We're looking for 6 7/8. That's right on right there. So that's perfect. 6 7/8 on both. So we'll just go ahead and we'll tack this down right here. Hold it up against our square. Tack it down. Here again, hold it up down here. Make sure it's up against it. And we'll put a couple more in here just to hold everything in place here. All right, so now what we're going to do, we're going to go offline and we're going to cut some lead. We'll cut some U-came to go down here, across here, up here. And since we're going to make 3 panels exactly the same, we'll cut all the down lead across here and up here. So we end up with 6 of these, 3 of these, and across the bottom here, we'll end up with 3 that'll be the same. So I'll cut all of that lead, and we'll come back, and then when we get ready to put these together, we can put these together kind of like a production line. So this one's actually going to be pretty easy. It's all straight cut glass, and there's not going to be that many pieces in it. Each panel is only going to have, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, probably about 12 pieces of glass in each panel, so it'll be pretty easy to do. So, okay, so we'll move away from here for a second. We'll get our U-came cut, and then we'll be back. Okay, well, we're back. As you can see, we have lots of little things out here now. We've got our cross piece here with our notch in it. This is to hold our hanger right here. We've got our down pieces of lead. We've got our H-came to go across our header. And down at the bottom here, we've got some more U-came that's going to close up our project. I cut a couple of pieces for our beginning header here. We've got our little black brass tubing and our cotter pins for our hangers and our pliers. So to get started here, the first thing we're going to do, we need to make our hangers. And if you've seen my other videos, you'll see how we do that. If you haven't watched how to make the hangers for leaded glass, I have a little video out about that. So you might want to look at that. It gives you how to do it for several different kind of applications. The hangers are made out of a 3/32 cotter pin. They're 1.5 inches long. They're steel, zinc plated. They're not stainless steel. Don't get stainless steel. You won't be able to bend them. So anyway, to make this work, you just take a pair of long nose pliers. You insert them here. And then you take your little brass tubing. This tubing has a 3/32 hole across the top here. You just slide it onto the longest leg here. Bring it out here, and you just bring it out here to a 90-degree angle. We'll do one more so you can see how this works. So just put it in the loop. Put your tubing on the longest leg. Bring it out here to a 90-degree. And the way that works is on our header glass here, we've ground back an area right here. So the hanger fits inside here like this, just like that. And the U-came goes over the top of this. And the reason for grinding it out here is I want this to stay the same width as this. So I've just kind of eyeballed that, so that'll be close enough. The only other thing you have to do here is you notice that this is sticking down right here. You want to come back here and cut that down leg off just about 1/4 inch. If you leave that there, that'll interfere with your next piece of glass that's going to go in, and it'll push everything over. So we don't want to do that. So just take your long nose pliers. If you have a pair like this that has a side cutter on it, it's about 1/4 inch across here. Just take and slide it through till you see the tip of it here. And you can just take and you can cut the down leg off just by, you don't have to measure it or anything. You just stick it in there and like that. Okay, so the way this works, we're going to take a piece of down lead. We're going to take our header lead and another piece of down lead. And then we're going to take one of our hangers here. We're going to insert it into the notch that we cut. And then we're going to come down and we're going to go inside this one here. And you bring this down take your stick pins here, and you take and you pin it. This one here is going to come down here. It's going to go right here. And you take and you pin it. Then you take your header glass that has the notch in it. It's going to go right in here like this. We need a piece of H-came to come down here like this. And then we need this piece here. I cut these all out of one piece, so I want to show you. The reason I did that, because I want these, when they go together here, I want the grain to go the right way. And since they are cut from one piece, when we make our split here, I usually put a couple marks across there so we know that they're going to be going in the same way I cut them. So we're going to go ahead and put this in here. Put this in here. And this one's going to go inside the U-came to your H-came just like that. We're going to take one of our pieces of H-came that we cut. It's going to go right like that. We're just going to take it and we're going to pin it. Now, if you notice on some of the smaller solar lights, we just used a crown across here, but we split this one because we're going to put a real piece of H-came in here because this one's going to be fairly big, so it's going to be fairly heavy. So, and here's our hanger, so our leg goes back in here. That helps reinforce this area right here. So now, this area going to go down here. We're going to put the 1-inch bevel squares in it. So they're going to start right here. They'll go here. We'll get another one out here. And that one's going to go in there. So now I'll go offline. I'll cut us some of the light green to go here. Down here, we'll put our 2 squares down here, and then we'll be able to start to build this out. This is going to be fairly easy to bake because it doesn't have any fancy cuts in it. It's all straight cut. The only trick is going to be when we get to our open area here. I'll show you a trick how we're going to do that. If you watch the one on the cross where we took and we cut the heart out of the U-came, we're going to do the same thing here because it's going to have to run across. But I'll show you that when we get there, so you don't have to worry about it right now. So anyway, we'll be back and we'll get ready. We'll cut some glass up here. Here again, if you want to, because we're going to make 3 of these all exactly the same, you could cut all of the glass if you wanted to. This glass going down here, I think we'll probably split it here rather than run a whole long one here. Because this is going to be hollow in the middle. It's not going to have any glass in the middle. Maybe by splitting it right here to make this a little bit stiffer so we don't have a problem with it wanting to get out of shape. So anyway, we'll be back in a minute and we'll have some glass cut up and we'll go from there. Okay, we're back here. We got some of our glass cut up right now. So this is our light green glass with the wispy going up and down here. You notice I've kept them marked up and down. And you see this one here, it's still going up and down too. So anyway, we're going to put these little piece of H-came in here. We're going to insert one of these in here, just like that. And then we're going to get some of our old junk U-came right here, and we're going to take and we're going to put it right here, and we're going to take and pin it. And then we're going to take and we're going to find this couple pieces of H-came that will fit in here. That one's too small. So we'll take and make our own here. So we're going to take and we're going to cut this. So bring it in here. We'll take and mark this right here, just a little below it, because we have a piece of H-came running across that way. So we'll take this, pull it out here, take and cut it. And I'll take another piece of H-came. I'll just cut one to match that one. So let me get some more H-came here. All right, we got a piece right here. Just line it up with the ends of itself and cut it. So this one here is going to go in here like this. And we'll just take and we'll pin it a couple pins here so it doesn't go anywhere. I still think I'm going to break this one here. So I just for show and tell, I just thought I'd show you how this is going to go. I'll cut this in half and go ahead and break that up. I like to have a little strength across here because, like I said, the center is going to be left open here. So this will give us a little rigidity by putting that in there. So then this one here is going to go in here like this. This piece is going to go down like that. And we'll take and we'll pin it here. Now we're going to take this piece right here and we're going to insert it here. I shouldn't have put that in there quite so soon. We're going to slide this one here right down here. Just like that. Take another piece of H-came right here. Measure it. And we'll stick it in there like that. So now we're ready to go ahead and cut up some of this, and we'll make our next border to go around inside here. This is where this one's going to end. There'll be another piece of or another bevel on the end of this one. Just like that. So anyway, so that's where this is where it's going to end here. So anyway, that'll give us a nice window inside here for our crystal. So our crystal is going to sit in here like this. Remember, we're going to have the two sides down here across the top and across the bottom. So that'll give us about ½ inch top and bottom, ½ inch on the sides here, and this will be free hanging in the middle of all of this. So that ought to come out really nice. We'll get it all set up, and when I come back, we'll have some pieces cut for this, and we'll have these pieces here cut. As you can see with the lead right here, I probably shouldn't have cut that off yet, because I think what I'll do is I'll take this lead and recut it and run it on out to the end here, because that'll make it a little bit stronger rather than piece it in here. So that's not a big deal. Like I said before with the H-came, if you're doing a lot of little leaded projects, always hang on to all your H-came, because you can always find a home for it. So anyway, we're going to go offline, and I'll go ahead and cut up some of our little glass to go inside here. And when we come back, we're going to put it around and show you. This will show you how quick this is to get done. I am going to split these right here, so when we come back, it'll look a little bit different than it does now. So I'll be back in a couple minutes, and we'll have some inner glass cut. And then there's a little trick to that, because we're going to line the inner side of this. The inside of this is going to be lined with U-came going backwards. It'll go in here and go back in. If you watch the video on how to make the leaded glass cross, you'll see how we did that, because we have the same problem here. We're going to have glass that butts into itself, but there's no way to put the H or the U-came in there. So I'll show you how we're going to fix that problem. So we'll be back in a minute, and we'll get started on the inside of this. All right, we're back. We got all the side glass cut now to go in here. We've done all the light green. It's all been cut and it's ready to go in. You notice we've got lines running here showing the direction. So now it's time to come in and make our border to go around here where our crystal is going to go here in the middle. And then we're going to use this confetti glass with the pink and the green and so forth in it. So we needed to find out how to make it, how far from here to here to make those pieces. So all I did was I took one of these pieces and I slid it down in here. And then I put the back piece on here along with the U-came, and I slid a piece up in here, and that tells me right here. So that tells me how long to make these guys right here. So the way this goes together is just like this. You take one of your end pieces here, stick it into your H-came, get it where you, whoops, get that out of the way. Okay, it slides down here. If you're working with this glass, you want to be real careful with it, because the little confetti chips are just thrown on while they're making this glass. They're thrown on at random. And when they fire it just hard enough to make them stick to the glass. So it's kind of like a contact fuse if you're familiar with the glass fusing. And so what you want to be careful with is that sometimes these will flake off, and they are really, really sharp. See, I don't know if you can see that little chip right here, but that's one that's come off. Here's another one over here. It's a little bit bigger one. It's a green one. And those come off, they're razor sharp. And if you catch one in your finger or something, you can get a little splinter. And boy, does that hurt. So be careful with those. Handle them with care. So anyway, this is going to go on down here like this. It's going to go right in here. This piece here is going to go right here. Oops, that's the wrong one. Don't want to mess that up. Get our down piece here. Going to butt right in there. Butt right in here. And this one here is going to go right in here. So this is the same problem with this project as we had with the cross. We can't just leave these butted together here. So how are we going to hide that? And what we're going to do, we're going to take a piece of U-cane. So we're going to take our U-cane here, and we'll straighten that one out. That's a little been a little bit. And our U-cane is going to go across here like this. And we'll take and we're going to cut it. Right like that. And then we're going to take our dikes. I'm going to cut that to the length. Just like that. I'm going to slide this back right now because I'm going to get in here with this. That's a little bit long. This is still a little bit crooked too. Okay, so that's going to give us a finished edge facing in. Still just a little bit crooked. There we go. So now take one of these pieces and slide it down here and butt right into it. Do the same over here. Down here and butt into it. And take your pen and mark where that lines up right there. And I want to know if I want to use this piece of U-cane. It's been bent up, so we might not use that one. So we'll pull this out now. Now, oh, here, it's got a curve to it here. Yeah, we won't use that one. That's not going to work good for us. Let's pick another one here. Let's try this one. This will look straighter. I think that one I tried to use before was we used that one on a demo on how to do the last one, and got kind of bent up a little bit. That feels better. Okay, so we're going to take this, going to slide it right down like that. We're going to take our pen and we're going to mark right here. We're going to do the same thing with this one. Pull it down. We're going to mark it right here. And then what we're going to do, we push these back out of the way. Then we're going to take our dikes and we're going to come in here. We're going to stay on the heart. We're not going to get on the crown. And we're going to take it, we're going to cut this back. Just like that. We'll do it on both sides. Here again, don't get on the crown, just stay on the heart part of it here. So you got that. Then you take your long nose pliers and you come in here, come right up against where your cut's at here, and just take and twist it a couple times to get it to come out. Just like that. So now what's going to happen when you put this in here like this, this glass is going to go inside this little area right here. And we may have to trim that up just a little bit, but that's going to go inside there like that. And that'll go up against here, and that'll hide that open area there. So I'll go ahead and open this up just a little bit more. I'm going to use a what they call a razor saw. I'll show you what it looks like. It's right like that, has a real fine blade on it. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to come in here and I'll put this where I can hold it on the end of my workbench. And I'm just going to cut this down just a little bit on both sides so I can increase this. This needs to be open maybe another 1/8 of an inch on each side so that our glass will slide in. So I'll go offline and I'll take and fix that real quick, and then we'll come back in and we'll show you how to put this in. Okay, we're back. We took our razor saw here. I don't know if you can see this right now. See, I sawed it back here just about 30 seconds, not quite an 1/8 of an inch. So now, here again, I'll take my pliers and I'll come in here. May have to spread those a little bit. Come in here, pick this up, and bend that back out. The lead cuts real easy with that razor saw, so you don't have to push very hard with it. There we go, and then we'll just pull these legs back down. Just like that. So they sit in there like this, and then your lead's going to go in here like that. So this is going to go, you can leave this up just a little bit if you want. So this is going to go in here like this. We talked about this little kink right here on the cross. Don't worry about that. When you solder it, that'll disappear. This will come down here just like this. And this takes a little finagling to do to get it to go in there. There you go, just like that. And this one here goes in there just like this also. Like that. So now we've hidden that joint. So the next piece of H-came that'll run from here down to here will butt in just like this. Well, that curved one just going to give us trouble this whole time here. There we go. That one will go in here, and that'll butt in here just like that. And when we solder it, that'll finish this up all smooth on the inside here. So that's how we're going to do that. Then when we get down to here, we're going to make another one of these down here, go across here. We'll put in these pieces, and then we'll put the back together, and we'll be ready to solder it. So that's how that's all going to go together. After you get your glass in here, if you want to, you can take a little block of wood, and you can kind of push that down if you want to, if you think that seems to be a little bit too high. But like I said before, when we solder, you'll never see where it's at. So don't worry about it. All right, so we'll go offline. We'll cut us another piece of U-came to go across here. And then when we come back, we'll slide it all together, and we'll be ready to solder it. So we'll be right back. All right, we're back. I thought I'd just show you this one more time here. I took this is our U-came that's going to go across the back here. So what I've done here is I took my dikes and I cut the heart out of it here. And then I've taken my razor saw and I've come back to here. So I don't know if you can see that or not. There's two little marks there. So just take and spread these legs a little bit here. Take your long nose pliers here and go all the way up to the end of my saw marks. And just take and give it a couple little twists. And then we'll do the same thing here. We'll pull this away. And we'll come up right to where our saw marks end. And we'll move it away. And then we can just take and bring these back together. If you have one here that looks like it may have a little too much lead on it, you can take your dikes and go in here and give it just a little bit of a trim. Or you can take an X-Acto knife and you can take and trim it up just a little bit to get a little bit more room here. Okay, so this is going to go in here like this. Slides down just like that. See how it slid down there? Okay. This piece here, be helpful if I put it in the right way. Still going to be the same, but we want this glass here to get trapped by it. There we go. That goes just like that. This piece is going to go in here. There's another one of those little chips right there. Just be aware of that so you don't go rubbing your fingers across it and end up with a big sliver on it. That's going to go there like that. Get these out of the way. Put our last piece of U-came across the top here. Like that. We're going to get this out again. We're going to get our square. This is important that these are square. So you probably notice I keep harping on getting things square. Because when we put these together, if they're not square, they don't fit good. And then you'll have gaps. And the gaps don't look real good. So that's good and square there. Goes here and goes here. So now what we need to do, we need to cut a piece of U-came to come down here to close that off completely. We just push these down. So that hides that section for us here. So we'll get a couple pieces of U-came here. So I just took and cut one here. We're going to stick this in here like this. Take and measure it. Take and cut it. Take this one out of here. This goes in here like this. That's a little bit too long. So we'll move it back here. Okay, so we get this one in here like this. There you go, just like that. So that makes us a nice smooth box all the way around the inside here. We'll go ahead and we'll put this in here like this. We'll take and cut us another one here. Over here. Take and measure it. Take and cut it. Still a little bit long, Still a little long. We want it to fit nice and tight, so when you're cutting this back, don't go getting too carried away and cut too much off, because you don't want a big gap on it. Okay, so this is going to go in here like this, just like that. Put our two marks right here, our pins. So that's going to be our finished panel right there. Take a little block of wood and pull these down tight against the top here. Let's grab the crystal real quick, and we'll stick it in there and just give you a sneak preview of what this is going to look like. So this crystal is here going to be hanging right here, right in the open window here. So that ought to be a really attractive solar lantern, and it's going to have 3 lights in it, so it'll be quite bright. So we'll go get ready to solder this up, and when we come back, we'll show you how we're going to solder it, and then from there we'll go ahead and finish both sides. We've got our hanger in here already, so then all we have to do is finish off the ends and the corners, and we'll call this panel done. Then we'll go ahead and we're going to put a little tab on the bottom here to hold the bottom in it, and up here right across this one here on the inside, we're going to put a little piece of H-came across here to create what they call a cleat. The cleat will hold a little plate that's going to have our solar lights, keep them from falling through. Also, on that same plate, we're going to drill a real small hole right in the center of it. And we're going to take one of our real small cotter pins. Now it's a 1/16 inch by 3/4 long. And we're going to set that into the top of this when this slides down on top here. And it will have our monofilament line that will run down to our crystal. So the crystal will be free dangling in here. So it'll be an interesting project. So when we come back, we'll get ready to solder this up, and then we'll be ready to go. Okay, well, we're back to finish up our project on this one panel. So now we're ready to solder this up. If you watch any of my other videos, you see how we do this, but we'll go over it one more time here. So I'm going to take a small stainless steel brush right here, and I'm going to go over the junctions where our solder is going to solder the 2 pieces together here. And we just kind of clean off any oxidation that may have gotten on there from our fingers or just from the air itself. It'll just help the solder flow a little bit better. So we're just going to go ahead and we're just going to take and go over every little joint here. Then after we get that done, we're going to we'll take our liquid flux here, and we're just going to put flux on all the areas here. And then we'll go ahead and we're going to solder it up. We're using a Waller 100-watt iron with 700-degree tip. We're going to use a 60-40 solder, and that gives us a nice bead on our lead, and it works quite well. It flows real nice and smooth. So I usually just take a piece about this size and about 10-12 inches long, cut it. Sometimes I'll take it off the roll, but for this project, we're just going to go ahead and do this. Going to take our iron. I usually use a little piece of U-came here to run the tip over it after it's been sitting for a while. Be sure that it doesn't have a heat spike. I'm just going to take and tin my iron just a little bit, and then I'm going to come in here and I'm going to start right here at this joint right here. And we're just going to give it, put the soldering iron down. We're just going to go ahead and we'll start to lay our bead. I'm taking about a 1/16 of an inch off the end of my solder here, which gives me about a nice looking bead for each solder joint. Since this one here is fairly simple, it doesn't have a whole lot of pieces on it, it won't take very long to solder it up. These intersections right here, you just have to stand right in, just put your iron right in the middle of them and just let it flow off to all four sides. Now this area right here, this is where we split the heart out of the U-came. So just take and solder it right here, and then solder it right here. And that little bubble I was telling you about, you notice it's disappeared now. Now it's underneath the solder joint. That's where we move the heart out of there. So we'll just come down here and we'll get these taken care of real quick. So just put your about 1/8 of an inch right in the middle of the joint and just walk away from it. Just let it go ahead and flow out. Okay, we'll move along here. Take a look over your project. Like I said, there's not very many pieces here, so this is pretty easy. Make sure we got everybody soldered. Here's one right here we missed. Okay, so we got everybody soldered up now. Okay, so I'm gonna go offline. I'll turn this over and we'll solder up the other side, and then we'll come back and we'll finish up our two ends. We'll solder up our corners. We'll put our cleat on here on the other side for our, and down here we're going to put a little tab to hold a bottom in it, so we'll get some reflective light from it. So we'll be back in a minute and we'll solder up the other side, and then we're going to show you what the project looks like. Okay, so I'm back. I soldered up the back side here. There's a couple of things we need to remember to do. Don't solder down any of these sides here, because the next panel is going to sit in here. You don't want a little blob of solder here pushing this away and not letting these two touch each other, so we can keep a nice tight fit on our panel as it comes up here. So right here, I didn't solder this one here because this is where our cleat's going to go. So to put our cleat in here, I'm just going to lift this up. I'm going to turn our panel here, and I'm going to take one of our little H-cames. I got 3 of them cut here, and I have a pair of medical clamps here. I'm going to just eyeball this in the middle right like this. Going to push this down, clip it. Going to take and flux it a little bit, and take my soldering iron. You can see here on the end of the soldering iron, we've got just a little tip of solder. So I'm going to set this over here right where I want it. And I'm just going to set this down between the 2 pieces of H-came and let it flow off. Just like that. Then I can take this off. Take my solder again, push this over here so you can see it. I'm just going to go right in the middle here. I'm going to solder this back solid all the way across. I'll pick up this piece of H-came going across there also and solder that in right like that. Okay, so this gives us our cleat now. So this is the cleat we were going to use. This will be the shelf that we're going to use to let our light sit on. These edges right here get kind of sharp, so I'm going to just take my dikes. I'm going to cut those back a little bit. Okay, so now down here at the end, this is just like we've done before with the other projects. We're going to cut this about 1/4 inch high. We're going to take it right here. We're going to cut it here and cut it here. And then we're going to cut a point to it right here. And right there. And we're going to take this point and we're going to bend it down in here so we don't have to fill this hole, that big hole there. So I just put it on the edge of my workbench, push it down. And it comes back and you can see here now we've folded it over here. So now all we do is just solder just real lightly on here. And we could leave it that way. I'm going to put it on some 80 grit sandpaper and smooth that down. But we'll go ahead and show you how to do that. So I'm going to put that right there. I'm going to go ahead and cut these back here. And here again, we'll push that back down. So our project's going to come out nice. And so we're kind of made like a picture window right here. Where we cut back the U-came right here, I noticed in here, we've got a couple little gaps here. So when we get ready to solder this, we'll set this up on the edge and we'll just put some solder right here and flow those corners in. So that'll help tie that together also. So now what we're going to do is we're going to get out our drill vise, which we've used before in the other projects. And we're going to take our drill vise right here and we're going to set our project in here. Let me get it over here just a little bit more so everybody can see it. And we're going to take our flux right here, put it right on our corners. We'll take our iron, just let it flow right there. Come over here, we'll do the same thing. Gonna fill up those edges. Then I'm going to take it offline and I'll sand those down until it goes completely flat. But on the other side here, we've got a little opening here that we want to close up, and then we're going to solder around our cotter pin. So we can just set this in here like this. Be careful when you're tightening this up. Don't get it too tight. Or if you're just going to use a couple blocks of wood to hold it up, you're fine. That works great too. So we take and hold that right there. I'm going to take and pull this in here. Just like that. I don't know if we can see this or not. We'll do that when we do that if we get this together here to do the inside of the frame here. Okay, so I'm going to set this on a little angle right here. Move this over again. Set this on a little bit of an angle right here. Going to take and put some solder on my iron right like that. And I'm just going to set it in here next, right to my cotter pin, and I'm going to let it flow off. And as soon as it flows off, I'm going to just walk away from it like that. We'll turn this around. We'll do the same side here. Put it on the angle. Let's take and move this over here. There you go. Just going to take here again. We're going to put a little solder on our iron. Going to set it right here on the angle. Let it flow away, just like that. Now what I'm going to do right here, I'm going to try to hold this and so I can show it to you. You see here, there's a little gap right here. We're going to take, in all four corners here, we're just going to put a little flux in here. I'll set that panel down. I'm going to put some solder on my iron, and I'm just going to hold this. And right here, I'm going to set it right in here. And I'm going to solder that in right like that, just like that. See how that went in there? So we'll go ahead and do this too. Now, if I wasn't doing show and tell on this, I would have just left this in my drill vise and do it. Okay, so I'm going to hold it right like this. I'm going to put it right in here again. There you go. Let it flow around. Plugs up that whole area right there. We'll go ahead and do this side too here. Here's a little gap in right here. We're just going to set it in here just like that. Let it fill it in. And we've got one more. Where to go here? Oh, we got them all, I guess. Oh, this one right here. This one here's not. This one here's pretty much closed up by itself, so hardly need to do anything with this. But we'll go ahead and do it here. It's this one right here. So I'm holding it right here. Just going to put a little iron in here, a little solder, and fill it in. So I'll go offline. I'm going to clean this all up, and then we'll come back. We'll show you what the finished product looks like. I'll take and smooth these edges all down. I'll knock these all down right here, and we'll have one panel done for our solar light with our hanging crystal in it. So we'll be back in a minute. Okay, so we're back. We got it all shined up now, and it looks very nice. Everything looks good. You see here what we did to the corners here. We took and sanded them down, and we chamfered the edges to round them off a little bit so we don't have any sharp edges here. Here's the bottom side of it here. It just helps finish it off. You could leave it just soldered, and it would be just fine, but I like to finish these off. So the last thing we have to do, we've got our cleat here, but we need to put our shelf on here to hold our bottom on them. And so we're just going to insert this right in here like this. And our little tab we're going to use for that to hold our bottom is made out of a galvanized tin. This is a real thin material. I just cut it in strips. I take the galvanized area and burnish it off so it solders real nice. And it's going to sit right in here. And I'm just going to kind of put that, just kind of eyeball where that goes. And this is something important to remember here. Before you solder it down, take and mark it with a pen right here. And then raise it up about 1/8 of an inch, because remember our outside U-came is crowned. It goes around. And if you don't raise that up, that sharp edge here will be sticking down below the crown, and somebody could get hooked on it. So you want to pull this up. So I'm going to just reach in here, pull it up about 1/8 of an inch, like that. And down here at the end, you can't see it, it's going off the camera, but I'm going to put a little piece of form wood here and a couple of pins. And I'm going to push this in real tight to hold that for us. Then I'm going to take our flux. I'm going to come back in here, flux this in right like that. Take our iron, just like this. I'm going to tin it just a little bit. I'm going to stick it right in here. Then I'm just going to give it a pretty good dose of solder. And I'm just going to let it walk right along the edge here and solder that in solid. Just like that. So that'll hold our bottom in it. So this panel here is all done. So, okay, we're back. We got all 3 of our panels done now. So now we're ready to put them together. So we're going to use our larger 60-degree fixture that I made. And so it has 2 V's at 60 degrees. It has a stop right here, so when the pieces come down, they'll come in side by side. So we're going to take our first panel here, and we'll insert it right here. And we'll just slide in right up against the backstop right here, so they'll line up. And then we're going to take our second one here, bring it down here. And this is the area we're going to solder in, this V right here. So we want to be sure that they're lined up nice and square on there. And I have a glove on here so I can hold it if I want to make sure that I pull these edges in tight. So I can solder them. We don't want any gaps in them. Any air gaps that are in there, when you light it up at night, the light will go through them, and it doesn't look that great. So what we're going to do here, we're going to come up here on the top, and way down here at the bottom, we're going to come and we're going to put a couple solder joints. And then what I'm going to do, I'm going to take it out, and I have some little clips, and we're going to come down here in the middle because this is so long. We're going to put these 3 little clips on the bottom underneath here. and I'll show you how we're going to do that. And that'll just pull that together real tight, and then we'll come in and we'll solder that up a little bit better. So what we're going to do, we're just going to take our flux right here, and we're just going to take right here and right down here at the end, and we're just going to take our solder and our iron. We're going to go right in here, and I'm just going to put a nice little solder bead right here, just like that. We're going to come down here and we're going to put one right in here like this, just like that. You could probably go ahead and just hold this tight like this with your hand. I'm going to elect to do this. I'm going to turn it up on its side here. I'll move this out of the way real quick so I can show you what I'm going to do here. So I'm going to move this out of the way right here. And these are the little clips that I told you about. I made them out of just a paper clip. I took and I turned the inside edges in so I can come. This looks really tight right here. Here's a little right there. It's going to come in a little bit. So I can take and pull that in real nice and tight. When they get real tall like this, you need to really keep an eye on keeping these gaps closed up, because you're relying on the cane to keep them straight, and you can have some issues there. So we're going to put about 3 of them on here. Yeah, we'll come up here, we'll put one more. Might as well put 4. We've got them, we'll just use them. So we'll put this one here. We'll put all 4 of these on here. So they look like this. You know what we're going to do here? We're just going to take these ends and we're going to turn them down. And then when we take it, we put it back in our jig. We'll set it so that those don't get interfered with here. So we can just set this like this. And now we can just we'll flux up the middle of this. If you notice on the other solar lights, if we did the real little short ones, we just went ahead and soldered them right on the V. But because this one's getting fairly long, like on the light tower, when we did the light tower one, remember that was like 14, 15 inches long. This just helps hold them together, and it gives you a little nicer job. So now we'll just come in here and we'll just drop in a couple solder joints right here. One here. Put one here. One right here. One there. Then I'm going to come down to the end here, and like I've done in the other videos, we're just going to close this in solid here. It helps if you flux it though. I forgot to do that. Kept thinking, why isn't that it's not flowing very well. There we go. Make it look a little smoother there. All right, very good. All right, so now we'll pull this out. We'll take our little clips off here. I'll move this out of the way again and show you. So we're going to pull this out. Just pull your little release arms back. Pull the clips out of here, and that way we'll be ensured that we have a nice clean seam down there. This is something you don't have to do. I like to do it because I like to keep these seams with no solder joints bleeding through. So when you turn it up on its edge and we take a look at it here, you can see how nice and clean this is. You don't have any solder trying to get through it. So now what we're going to do, we're going to bring our jig back in here. We're going to set this up here again. And we're going to rotate this to the next one here. We're going to take our last panel and we're going to slide it down inside here. And we're going to do the same thing with it. We're going to set them in here. Make sure this goes all the way up against our stop here. Just like that. Here again, we talked about making these square and making them the same size for why we're using the form. See how nice this lines up here already? It's almost exactly where we want it already. So that tells us that we did a nice job on it. So we're going to look at this down. We're going to make sure it's pushed down here really nice and tight. We're going to take it again. We're just going to flux right here at the top and one right down here at the bottom. And we're going to take our solder. I'm going to put a tin on the end, a little tinning blob. And I'm just going to take it in here. I'm going to push down on this so it's nice and tight. And I'm setting this in here. And I'm just going to make my solder joint here. Then I'm going to reach through here, down here at this end. And I'm going to put a little solder joint right here. Okay. Now again, what we're going to do, we'll take this out. Move this out of the way again. And I'm going to take this right here, put it here, I'll show you. And I'm going to put our clips back on here. I'm going to hold this up here and show you. I don't know if you can see this or not, but right in here, you see how this is pulled away here? So if you don't pull these clamps in here, see how springy this is right here? If you don't put these clamps on here, when you solder, the solder will come through this gap right here. And we don't want to do that. So that's why we're putting these little clips on here. This will take and pull that up tight. So after you play with these for a while, you'll come up with your own little tricks how to be sure that you don't have those pulled tight. Some people that I know that have tried making some of these, they will take and use some masking tape and pull them real tight and just tape around it, or duct tape, one of the two, and pull it around. If they don't want to make these little clips, so they'll just pull those tight and they'll put it back in there. So now we'll take this away, bring this back over, just take and set it back in here, just like that. We'll come inside here and we're going to flux it up. I'll remember to do the top part at this time. And we'll put about 4 joints in here. I'm going to roll my solder out here. Get me a nice long piece. I'm going to take and I'm going to solder these 2 pieces of solder together so they'll be real long. All right. So I just took and soldered those together. Now I'm going to reach inside here. I'm going to come down here and I'm going to put a couple of little joints here. One there. We'll put one here. One here in the middle. And one more right here. Didn't get that one very good. Okay, so now we'll come back in here and I'll take and fill this in. When I mean fill this in, let me see if I can turn this and show you here. This area right here is still open, so I want to take and let me prop this up a little bit. Maybe that'll help. It's this area right in here. When I say fill it up, I'm going to take and solder that solid. So it just gives it a little better appearance looking here at the top. Here again, that's your choice if you want to do that or not. You can leave it open if you want to. That's the only part of the whole top that shows that people look inside it to see what you've done inside. So now we have the open one here. Take this back. We have the open one here, which is right here. We're going to we'll rotate that one more time. Put it in our jig. Make sure we get it lined up where we want it. And here again, like I said before in some of the other videos, take your time and get this lined up where you want it. There we go. This makes the best looking job if you take your time and do that. We'll take our clips off here. So we'll pull these off real quick. Okay, so now I'm going to push this down nice and tight. I'm going to put some flux right here at the top again, some way down at the bottom. And then what I'm going to do, I'm going to look at it one more time. I want to make sure it's lined up where I want it. What I mean by lined up is where I want it, is that I've got these this portion and this portion at equal amount, so that it'll be right in the center, so we create this effect right here. So now I'm going to take my solder through the back side. I'm going to come all the way down here, and I'm going to put a solder joint right here to hold this, just like that. And go right down to the end here. I'm going to put a solder joint right there. And we're going to do the same thing here. We're going to take it out. We're going to take a look at it here. Here again, if you look real close here, you can see we've got a couple little springy areas here that's going to let the solder flow through. So we're going to take and we'll put our clips back on here. Or, like I said, you could use some masking tape or some duct tape and pull those in tight. You just don't want to just go ahead and solder them, because it'll go through there. And then you've got this solder coming through on the other side, and it just doesn't look that great. So keep that in mind. And like I say, the more you play with these, you'll come up with your own little tricks on what makes them finish off really nice. Okay, so to do this last one, I'm going to take the camera down. I'm going to show you how we're going to do this inside here. I'll have my wife come out and she'll help us with the camera work. I'll take and set it here on an angle. I'm going to block it up here a little bit so that yeah, we'll use something else than that. We'll block it up here just a little bit so that you can get a good picture of what we're doing down here. So we'll go offline. I'll get my lovely assistant out here to give us a shot down through here, and you can see what we're going to do here. So we'll be right back. All right, well, I got my wife out here now to give me a hand here. She's going to hand hold the camera here while we come down inside here and finish this off. So what we're going to do, we're going to take our flux and we're going to come in here and we're going to flux this all up. I'll try to do it from the back side here too, so that we can go ahead and get this all soldered together. So then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my soldering iron. I'm going to take our solder from the back side and I'm going to bring it in here. And I'm going to solder our joints right here. I try to keep the soldering iron out of the way, but it's going to be a little bit hard to do here. So I'll just get a couple solder joints right in here. Just like that. Just like that. Then we'll come down here in the middle. Put a couple more in here. I know this is hard to see on the camera, so I'm probably not showing you a great video of it, but you get the idea of what we're doing, how we're getting that together. Obviously, if you're doing this by yourself and you don't have any you're not going to video it to show to somebody or something, you can be right over the top of this, and it comes out much easier to do than this. And like I did with the other ones, we'll come up here and we'll fill this in solid. Just like that. Okay, so now that creates our solar light for us. So we can pick it up and bring it over here and we'll take a look at it. We'll take all our clips off here now. And like I said before, that's something you can use masking tape, duct tape, anything, you can put that on there. If you've got some big rubber bands you want to wrap around it and pull it in tight, you can use those. Anything. I just made these clips because I was looking for a way to do this with a single-handedly, and they work nice and they're not expensive and you can just bend them out. So this is our panel all put together. And so anyway, it's going to have, hanging from the top here, it's going to have our crystal in it. So this ought to really look pretty at night. And I think it's going to actually look very pretty in the daytime. So it looks very good. We got our little tabs on the bottom for the glass bottom. We're going to put a opaque white bottom in here. And for the top here, I'm going to make a plate to go in here to hold 3 of our solar lights. And I'm going to make it out of this same material right here, because we're going to, right in the middle of it, when I get our 3 lights in here, right here, right when I get that plate in there, right here in the middle, I'm going to drill a 16th inch hole, and I'm going to mount one of our little cotter pins, the 16th by 3/4 inch long in it. Just bend the tabs over, and that's where we're going to suspend our crystal down from. So we'll run our monofilament line through that, and we're going to try to center up our crystal right in the middle of this window here. So there's a lot of opportunities for this style of a solar light. You could hang anything in here you like. If you've got some really pretty seashells, you could do that. If you've got some, say, a glass bird, a hummingbird, something like that, or some beautiful stone or something that you found, you could put a lot of things in here. I do have a seashell I'll show you real quick. And I'm seriously thinking about maybe making one with a seascape, and it's going to look like it would be going here like this. So to give you an idea what that would look like hanging on it. So that gives you kind of an idea. So this would be hanging in the middle, and the lights would light it up at night, and in the daytime it would be visible. So I'm thinking about doing that. So you know, stay tuned to the videos and check one out. You might see one with a seashell in it, and maybe I'll use some sea glass around here. All of these things are possibilities. Stained glass is kind of an endless possibility. You can do just about anything you want to with it. So this has been a really fun project. I'll go ahead and make a bottom. I'll make our top for us, and then we'll come back and we'll get it ready to light it up and see how it's going to look for us. So, okay, well, we're back. We're ready to put in the finishing touches to our solar lantern. We've got all the pieces made here now. We've got our crystal. We've got our little pigtail put on here. We used a 50-pound monofilament line. It's got a little lobster claw on the end of it. We've got our plate here that we made out of the same tin that we make for the bottom pieces. It has we drilled a hole in the middle here, and we put our cotter pin through here and bent it. So this is going to be where we're going to hook our lobster claw on to let our crystal hang right here in the middle. So we've got all the pieces made. Like I said before, this is made out of the same material as we make the tabs for the bottom. So it's a galvanized tin. I use a metal hole saw to drill a 1-inch hole, or saw a 1-inch hole into this. If you're going to try this, be sure to hold this down super tight. I usually use a pair of vice grips on a block of wood, because if for some reason this were to catch and start to spin, this is really, really thin, and you could really get yourself cut real easy. So just a little word of advice there. If you're gonna use a hole saw and going to drill these holes in here like that, or even if you're just going to use a regular drill through here, hang on to this, because you don't want it to get caught on the drill and start spinning around, because you could hurt yourself. So anyway, this will go on the top like we've done before, and we'll show you how to do that. We've got our chain over here. We've got our E6000. We're going to put the bottom in here. I've already fitted it, so I've got it marked here where it's going to go. So we just take our E6000, and we're going to put a bead right on here where the marks are at. And this glass is just made out of just a piece of white opaque glass. And this one here, because we cut the windows in here, this one's going to be pretty easy to put the glass in, so we can reach inside. So we're just going to insert it in here. I can reach inside here, and I can pull it on through. Then I'm going to just set it up on edge. And I'm just going to lift it up, and I'm going to push it. Now I can reach in here through here. I'm going to push it in place. I can actually turn it up on side here, and I can take and center it where I want it. That looks pretty good right there. We left a little gap open here, so if they're outside, they're in the rain, that won't fill up with water. The water can run through it. So there we go with our bottom. Now what I'm going to do here, since I glued that down, I want to glue it down to my work table here. I'm going to just take a piece of our form wood here, and I'm going to just put it in here like this. And I'm going to set this right in here. I'll put it over here where you guys can see it. That just holds it up off the work table, so that while the E6000 is curing, it won't stick it to our table. So that's our bottom, reflective bottom. Okay, now our top here. Okay, so I've marked it here. It's got a little tick mark right here. A little tick mark right here, so that's going to go in here like this. It'll sit in there like that. But before we put it in, we're not going to glue it down. It's just going to sit in there freely. In case we want, later on, maybe you decide you want to put somebody else in here. You want to put in something that you found at a craft store or somewhere rather than the crystal. Maybe you want to put in a hummingbird inside here, a seashell or something like that. So what we're going to do, we're going to take our crystal here, and we have our lobster claw on here. Just going to open the lobster claw up, and we're just going to take it, we're going to pin it just like that right onto our little cotter pin hanging down. And then this is going to sit in here just like this. Then our solar lights will fit in here. So like I said before, if we measured this right, we should be able to get 3 of them in here. And we did measure it right, so they're all going to fit like that. So the next thing we're going to do, we're going to put our chain on here, and then we're going to do this one a little bit different. We're going to take this one outside first because it's going to be in the sun. The crystal will give us a real good reflection. So we're going to take a couple of pictures or a couple of videos of it outside. And then maybe this evening when it gets dark, we'll leave it outside and we'll take and do a little video of it at nighttime. So I hope you've enjoyed the video and working along with it. This has a whole world of possibilities as far as putting things inside of them. They don't have to be this big. I could have went ahead and just made one with a single light, which would have made it only about this wide. So it's all up to you guys. You can become your own designers. This has no plans or any figuration to it. So we just drew how big to make the panels, and from there we just got creative. So use your creative juices and come up with whatever you can come up with. So we'll be back in a little while, and we'll show the closing videos on it. Thank you. Okay, so here's our project. It's all done now. So we have it hanging outside. Show you how the crystal looks inside of it. And so what we're going to do a little bit different than we've done before. Normally we've taken them into a laundry room and turned the light out and light them up. What we're going to do with this one, since we get the pretty colors of the crystal, we're going to just leave it outside here, and this evening we'll come back out after it goes dark, and we'll put some lights in it and we'll light it up again to show you what it looks like. But this is going to be just as pretty hanging during the daylight as it is at nighttime. So we'll be back as soon as it gets dark, and we'll get us an ending video. All right, so here's it all lit up at nighttime. So came out real nice. I hope you guys will give it a try, and we'll see you on the next video.